Hey. How y'all doing this morning? Emma, your birds chirping away?
Oh yeah, one of them actually started laying eggs, and because one of them, I don't know their gender. I don't know if they're fertile or infertile or what's going on. So one of them's
Oh,
laying an egg right now. A little freaked out about it, but it's cool.
you have two, right?
Yes. See,
Oh,
with albinos, it's hard to tell their gender,
yeah,
and everyone kept telling me, "Oh, it's a girl, it's a girl,"
yeah.
but their behavior is very boyish.
Oh
So
boy.
they could just be infertile eggs, and which means no
Yeah.
chicks, or they could be fertile and I have to deal with chicks.
Aw.
Yeah.
Kind of a cute problem to have, though. I remember when I got fish from the pet store and like the person was like, "Oh yeah, they're all female, no big deal." And then like a couple months after owning them, all of a sudden I saw a little fry, like little baby fish just swimming all around the aquarium, and it turns out that female fish can actually hold fertilized eggs in their bodies for months and then just lay them whenever they feel like comfortable to do so. And so I had all these baby fish to deal with in a 5-gallon tank. So like I had to get rid of them obviously when they got bigger. And don't worry, I didn't hurt them. I just gave them away for free. All right. Oh, and Emma, I sent an email to you this morning, FYI. Um, I meant to like talk about it a while ago. Um, about a little like project called Carter County Moves. I had thought about it like back in the beginning of this pandemic. It was that idea to just kind of help get people kind of moving and outdoors, even during the craziness of everything. And the thought was that they would that people would sign up to participate in this. Oh, here we go. Jillian's jumping on too. Sign up to participate in like this thing where they log their miles and they walk or run or whatever. Um, but anyways, I sent you an email about it, and I wasn't sure if it was something you wanted to like try incorporating with a fundraiser or anything else. But FYI, it's
I
there.
really like this idea because SADD has done one before and they got like a lot of money for it. Like they raised thousands of dollars. But then again, this is a whole nation kind of thing. But I really
Yeah.
like this idea. I'm so sorry. My phone sometimes doesn't notify me when I get emails.
No, you're fine. I literally just sent it to you this morning, so it's not like I'm like, oh my gosh, why did she write back yet? I'm like, no, I just wanted to like let you know that I did send you something. I meant to do it so long ago, but yeah, and it can be like a totally virtual thing. So even people who aren't living in our, I mean, it's Carter County Moves, but even if somebody in our who's like in Johnson County or or Johnson City or wherever just wants to participate, totally cool. Um, but yeah, the thought was to be a fundraiser. Like people can either give us like a flat rate donation to participate, or they can pledge to raise money depending on how many miles they run. Like if I was doing like a mile challenge, I would say, we're raising money for this thing. Every mile I run, you guys donate like 50 cents to me, $1 to me, or whatever. And then I show my logs, and then people donate on my behalf or sponsor, participant, or whatever, something like that.
And that would be good, especially since I know some of us do run daily basis. I think McKenna, you run, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I usually run a mile a day, so that might work.
Nice. Yeah. I try running at least every other day. Sometimes I can get a couple days in a row in. But yeah.
We have to run miles for volleyball. So I'm like, pretty much we have like 5 practices a week. And so I'm like, after that, I'm not doing anything at home. It's fine.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour and it looks like, I think everybody's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of us, right? All right. So, nice, Kindlin. Cool. Well, then this sounds like it would be a promising project for us to talk about, or for y'all to talk about later on if you're interested in doing that, incorporating that as part of your like fundraising piece that you need to do. Well,
sorry. I can try to bring it up during our meeting today and see how many people are interested, because now we have like CCDP, SADD, and junior data.
Yeah. Sounds awesome. Thank you. All right. Welcome to week 5. I'm sorry, week 6. I can't count. Welcome to week 6. So everybody feel comfortable with your speeches that you worked on for a domestic violence topic that we have today? All right, so we are going to, as usual, go ahead and jump into presenting those speeches. If everybody will please get out your peer evaluation forms and your self-evaluation form as well. As a typical format, y'all just evaluate your peers as they speak, and then after everyone is done speaking, I will give everyone a couple of minutes to do their self-evaluation piece as well. And then maybe by then our guest presenter will be on today, and we'll talk about the topic of the week. And then after that is done, we'll go over homework assignment for next week. All right. And I'm keeping like this, I'm having to move the participant box around because I'm keeping an eye to make sure nobody else is jumping in the waiting room at any point. So who would like to go first? All right, McKenna, all right.
Hi, my name is McKenna Marr, and I'm going to talk about why people who are experiencing domestic violence can't just leave. Fear. Fear that they won't be able to live on their own. Fear that their abuser will follow them and share personal information. Love. Love for their abuser. Love for the children they might have with them. The victim might want the violence to stop, but not for the relationship to stop. Blame. The abuser might blame the victim into thinking they did something wrong, like it's all their fault. If you ever feel like something strange is going on or a partner starts to change, call the domestic violence hotline at 1-800-799-7233.
All right, thank you. Who wants to go next? And I can also just call on people in the order that I see them. No big deal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Why can't you just leave? The question that many domestic violence sufferers get asked when seeking help. If it was that easy, they would leave. I am Abram Freeman, and today I want to discuss the reasons why a victim can't just leave their abuser. Someone who wants to leave has a lot to figure out. Many may not have the documents needed when wanting to leave. Many may not have good enough money because they haven't been allowed to work. And if they do work, their abusers take the money and then they get paid. Most victims are tied to their abusers by children, which could mean they end up homeless and the children could be taken away if the state was called in. Also, victims believe that law enforcement will not take their story seriously, especially if they've been called to a disturbance many times because of a fight in the house. And lastly, many know that physical harm or death could be done to them or their children if they do leave and are later found by their abuser. So when asking the question, why can't you just leave? Think about all the reasons someone can't leave. Think about all the other people involved in the relationship. Think about the steps it takes for a person to be safe once their abuser is released from jail. Instead of asking questions, let's advocate for domestic violence victims and get them the help they need.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. How about Chloe?
I talked a little bit more about sex trafficking, if that's okay. Okay. Hi, my name is Chloe, and I'm going to be talking about sex trafficking and children exploitation and how an organization named Thorn is helping to fight against that. Thorn is a part of a large ecosystem of people, companies, and organizations and governments working to protect kids from sexual exploitation. Thorn says to fully address these crimes, we must build and maintain an understanding of this complex lifestyle of abuse, and deep understanding allows for specific action to change lives. This commercial sexual exploitation of children is another term for what we often call child sex trafficking. While anyone can be a victim, we know that kids who are homeless or runaways, a part of the LGBTQ, African American, or Latino, and the youth interacting with children welfare system are more vulnerable for this type of exploitation. According to the FBI, 52% of all juvenile arrests for criminal sex acts are African American children. Over 91% of the girls in the Los Angeles Star Court, a court for child sex trafficking victims, are African American or Latino. Studies show consistently report 50 to 90% of sex trafficking victims have been involved in the child welfare system. Instability creates an opportunity for traffickers to reach out and bond with vulnerable children. Support for survivors is often minimal on a national level. Local organizations support survivors in communities across the United States, but they are often unfunded and understaffed. There just isn't enough beds. There is a number of 1,644 shelter beds available to survivors of human trafficking across the U.S., but that isn't nearly enough. Child survivors require mental and physical health support as a part of their recovery process. The best way to help this problem is to support these organizations and bring light to this problem. This isn't something that's going to change like that. It's definitely going to take some time, but like I said, the best way is to just bring light to this problem and bring out facts and to support organizations like Thorn. And if you want to learn more, you can go to thorn.org.
Great job. Thank you. Emma, would you like to go?
Sure. So today I decided to try to do something a little different. So I don't know how that's going to go, but let's see. Victims of domestic violence. Victims so hurt that they hold their silence. People question as to why they don't leave, run, even though they don't know how the story truly begun. She is held by fear that if she flees, she'll lose everything she ever held dear, thinking there's nothing out there for her. He loved differently than most. His abuser threatened to show this to the world through their horrid words and posts. She came from distant lands, fleeing from a different terror, coming in through the cracks. Her abuser said he would expose those facts, unless she would stay. So stay she must, and maybe, just maybe, one day, she'll break away. She believes her abuser loves her, that it's her fault, that she has to be the one to hold it together. So by his side she stays, hoping that one day she'll gain his praise. He was afraid of what the world would say if they discovered that it was a girl who was abusing him. So he hid his bruises and gave excuses until the pressure became too great. And for him, it was too late. So as you can see, it's not as simple as saying goodbye. Their farewells will come with a grave price. Imprisoned, outed, left on the streets to die. All because they had the bravery to say goodbye. Keep this in mind the next time you hear that someone stayed with the abusive kind.
I like that. I think it was daring and bold to do kind of a persuasive speech in a form of a poem, really, and that's awesome. Nice. Yeah.
Thank
I like
you.
it. Thank you. Yeah. All right, Grace.
Mine isn't very good. I'm really sorry. According to Psychology Today, there are more than 3 million reported cases of domestic violence each year, but there are so many more that aren't reported. Hi, my name is Grace Cruz, and I'm very passionate about stopping domestic violence. Men, women, and children are getting abused every day by partners, family members, and foster families. A popular myth is that victims often provoke their abusers. I'm here to tell you that isn't true. The abuser often acts like a bully, beginning with verbal abuse, and, paired with a possible drinking problem, can escalate to physical abuse. You may not know that a person is being abused. They may feel shameful about it. They had put their trust and faith in this person, only to be put down, ridiculed, and beat up. In summary, victims never provoke their abusers. Abusers are hypersensitive, manipulating people who have no respect for their fellow human beings. If you or a loved one is experiencing abuse, please call 1-800-799-SAFE. There is hope.
Thank you. What do you mean it wasn't good? That was great. That was fine. It's fine. Good job. Thank you. All right, Kindlen.
So this one is not good because it decided to disappear on me, so I had to like type it all back like this morning. But anyway, each year more than 10 million men and women experience domestic violence. I'm Kendall Kruger, and I'm going to be talking about how you can't just leave or stand up to the person who is harassing you. They may have a weapon, or you might just be too scared or guilty, or they may have children that you love, or you may have had children with them that you love. I know someone who dealt with domestic violence and due to a toxic boyfriend. It caused her to have dark thoughts about herself because she was scared to keep living like that, not knowing what was next. Some signs of someone being harassed and they won't tell you is, 1, their partner insults them in front of other people. 2, they always seem worried around their partner. 3, they make excuses for their partner's behavior. And 4, they don't talk to you as openly as they normally would if their partner is around. These were some signs to help make you aware, or to help make you aware. You can find more signs online. If you know someone who you think or know is dealing with domestic violence, make sure to assure them that the abuse is not their fault. Here's the National Domestic Violence Hotline: 1-800-799-7233.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, no, it's always nerve-wracking when you have to kind of like get it all back together last minute. You did great though. Thank you very much. All right, everyone. Yeah, I'm looking right now and I'm not seeing our guest speaker in the waiting room yet. So I'll just take a few minutes and address the whole class with, now let me move my planner out of the way so I can put my binder in front of me. So, the past couple of weeks, we've been doing what are called persuasive speeches. And does anybody want to give me some examples of what the difference between persuasive and informative is? Yes, Emma.
Informative are supposed to get facts, whereas persuasive is to get someone to agree with your idea of what's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when we're developing speeches, and obviously, you know, we're all learning here, and I like what everybody has to say, and I also like stats and things being put in there. So I just want to say, as we move forward and we're developing our different types of speeches, I want y'all to kind of recognize some of the differences between the different formats of speeches that we're going for, so that you get some experience writing different kinds along the way. So some of them were more informative and some of them were persuasive. Again, they were all great. So not saying anything negative whatsoever. Please don't take it that way. I just want to really emphasize some of the differences that different speeches have, so that when you are trying to write the different kinds, you sort of know what different things need to be tweaked to make them a different genre, if you will. So when we do this week's, we are going to be moving on for the next the next two speeches will be in the debate format. And so I kind of want to go ahead and discuss kind of what that looks like moving forward, so that you all are prepared to work in that format. So when you think of writing something in the form of the debate, what comes to mind? Do you think about like a presidential debate, or maybe even when a lawyer or a defendant opens the floor on the court, they're laying their case, right? It's almost like a persuasive speech, but one in a way that kind of predicts what the person against you is going to say and then tries to address it. So think about, like, you go and you do something that you don't think your parent is going to approve with. And you know that when you get home, there's going to be this whole debate and argument about why it was not okay what you did, and you are going to defend yourself. So think about it in terms of writing a debate to your parent saying, I know you didn't want me to go out late because you're predicting what they didn't like, but here's why I did it. And then you get them over onto your side. So you lay your opening case, you talk about why you think a certain way, and then you predict what the opponent is going to say, and you address it. Does that make sense?
I just looked ahead. The next one is racism. So does that mean one of us is going to have to be like racist, or is there a different point?
So I'll go ahead and we'll just talk about it now while we're waiting for our guest. Yeah, so we are going to have a guest speaker talk about racism in America. And the argument is for or against the following. Everyone in America has the same opportunities, or you can choose the other one. Black people need to forget about the past and focus on the present. Now, I want it to be known now that you can write for or against something, even if that's not truly where you stand either. So there is a way to think about when you are the lawyer and you are defending somebody who is probably guilty of what they did, right? Even though they are probably guilty, you still have to defend them and prove their innocence in a way. So this is kind of where you get to play devil's advocate as well, if you want to. You don't have to, and it's sometimes if we decide to write for something that we don't truly believe in, then we always feel a little guilty, like, no, this is not how I really think. But it is a skill to be learned in a way that allows you to not necessarily defend what you believe. You absolutely can if you want to, but you can also remove yourself from a situation and try to once again predict what somebody else is going to say. And this actually is, if you're just thinking about, like, why on earth would I be against equality in the United States? Like, absolutely, why would you be? But if you think about why you would be against it, or if you think about why other people would be against it, that would be a way for you allow yourself to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and strengthen your own case of why you're for it. So when you look at why people might be against putting more street lights on the road, you think, well, that's a great idea. We need more street lights because we need to make this intersection safer. But then if somebody tells you, well, a street light will cause more traffic, or it can cause more distractions, then you can look into that and you can write, for the other side. So debate speeches, once again, you can look at the two topics, which are everyone in America has the same opportunities and Black people need to forget about the past and focus on the present. You can write for or against. I am not going to make y'all write against your own beliefs. So you don't have to do that. And even if you decide to do that and you want to put out a disclaimer and say, like, side note, this is not really the side that I'm on, or something like that, I don't care. But it's a way to give you some experience and build up a skill to help you strengthen arguments, regardless of what side you're on. So the debate format, when we're focusing on creating that debate format, the idea is, once again, state your case, state why you are for or against, and then predict what your opponent is going to say. And put, I know, or you can say something like, my opponent believes that this. However, and then you break down, that's not true because this. So does that make sense?
So are you going to pair us up? Like, how would that work? Because it's debating, so one person would have to say something, then another person would have to say the next, and then back and forth.
So gonna pop in here for 2 seconds. My thought on this, and we can kind of do this however feels good to you all, but my thought was that we would have some sort of pre-planned questions or pre-planned thoughts for the audience. And so I may say, okay, Em, you're gonna debate these things, and so you would have things to say to Chloe while she's talking that sort of are the opposite of what she's talking about. So you don't have to think about the other side of your argument. We'll totally take care of that for you. It's just, sorry, they're putting in windows at my house. So it's just, you focus on what you decide you're going to talk about, and then the rest of it we'll handle. So it's not a real debate, but it kind of gets you just the idea of what it's like to have to argue for or against something. So hopefully that helps a little. The other thing I'm going to say, I'm running to the library to do our little world tour thing, but I wanted to quickly, there's my kid and a curtain rod, good times. I wanted to quickly tell you about our speaker today. His name is Joey Barnett. Ow. And he is a PhD student at ETSU, and so he has a lot of experience talking about racism and minority health and all kinds of different things. So I hope that he will be really, really beneficial for you all, and helpful, and able to talk about things in his area of expertise that maybe Dolly or I don't have lived experience with. So he should be popping on about 11:30. If y'all need me, I'm always here. Continue on being awesome.
All right, perfect. Okay, yeah, so I'm not facilitator next week, so that's great that she was able to kind of clarify what she is expecting as well. But yeah, so it seems like then what y'all are going to do is write an argument for or against, and then she is going to ask questions, or there are going to be pre-made questions to kind of go against it. So it still helps, and it still stands that if you're writing a debate speech format and any other time, having that format of, or having that experience with kind of predicting what your opposition is going to say is very helpful, because if you can kind of predict what those questions are going to be, like if you go for or against something, if you can predict some of those questions ahead of time, you can do your research and have some strong answers to offer when those questions are asked. So it does help to think along those lines. And like I said, any candidate is giving their closing remarks or even their opening remarks in a debate format, it is like stating their case. I know my opponent says this, but I do this. So that's just how a typical format is. It seems like this one is awesome as well. So just go ahead and write your case, make it known what you want your case to be, and make it strong. And then just kind of be prepared. You don't have to put, I know my opponent's going to say this. You don't have to do that, since this format's going to be a little bit different. So just be prepared for whatever questions may come. And if you need help, once again, I'm not going to facilitate next week, but I can still, I'm obviously always still here. Like if you need help saying, hey, here's what my argument is. Can you help me either strengthen it, or do you have any oppositional questions that I could focus on or something? So just let me know if you need help with that. So any other questions or concerns about that assignment? Okay, well, we have just a few more minutes and we'll see if I'm sure he will obviously pop on then. But yeah, speaking of, has anybody been keeping up with any of the candidate debates, either locally or statewide or presidential level? Yeah, Grace?
A guy at our church ran for House of Representatives in the past Tennessee district, so we kept up with his debates, and he did a pretty good job.
Yeah. And what are some things that you noticed about his format when he, particularly what I'm always interested in is it's what's fun about political campaigns is that sometimes people will ask you a question and you know that they're trying to catch you off guard, or you know they're trying to like throw you down or something, or ask you an impossible question. And one of the things I like about watching candidate forums is seeing their responses where they do this trick called, they do this trick where they don't answer the question that was actually asked them. They just tell you what you want to hear, which is a very, very clever trick to have up your sleeve, especially when you're running for office. Because if somebody asks you this impossible question, like, what are you going to do about all these gang shootings in town or gang killings in town? Logistically speaking, somebody in a 2 or 4 year term in office cannot solve that problem. That is a systematic thing that's going to take generations to resolve. So a politician can't say, I'm going to solve all crime and nobody will ever be murdered in the city again. That's just not realistic. And so what a candidate will do is revert back to what their beliefs are. They'll talk about what they believe is a safe city, and they'll talk about something completely different. And then they'll somehow segue it back into, and that's why I urge everyone to go to my website and read my platform, or something along those lines. So did you notice this candidate doing any of that, Grace?
See, I was always really busy during those times, but my parents always watched it, and they said he always answered the question, and everything was really well thought out, and he did display his beliefs well.
Nice. Yeah, it's really cool to watch these candidate forums go down. Oh, Emma, did you raise your hand, or did I just, you were just, okay, let's see, sorry. It's really cool to watch these go down. It really helps you kind of get an idea of, it's public speaking on steroids. I mean, it's one thing to get up in front of people and say what you got to say in your 3 minutes that you have in front of a council and then leave. But it's another when you have to give a 5-minute introduction, and then you stand there for the next hour getting asked a bunch of questions. And then you have to predict what questions are going to be asked. Sometimes you get them ahead of time, sometimes you don't. And then you kind of just have to make sure that you have an answer for anything, and it's a wide variety of topics. So if anybody hasn't checked any of them out, I urge y'all to do so, or kind of stay involved, especially as we are approaching November 3rd very quickly. It's like 49 days away now, but who's counting? So there's going to be a lot more debates, and not just necessarily on the federal level. Federal level stuff's important too, but like my heart will always be on the local level politics, because I feel like, well, on the federal level, they say it takes 10 years for any kind of policies that they put out there to trickle down to the local level. However, local level is a tangible level of government that you all can directly impact, right? If you have a problem in Carter County, you can find a politician, sit down, have coffee with them, and discuss how to change it, right? You can't like, call up Donald Trump and be like, hey, I got a problem and I need you to like sit down and talk to me about it. Like it's not very tangible, but local level politics is always like where my heart is, because it's just it has the most immediate impact in your community, and it can be customized for your community needs. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. All right, so I'm sure Joey will be logging in here soon to join us, but yeah, there's a lot going on. I don't know if any of y'all know that I also work on political campaigns. I actually am a campaign manager for somebody running for NC Senate in North Carolina. So not national, I can't talk. Not a senator, U.S. senator, but for the North Carolina General Assembly. And she's really, really good at public speaking. Like, I didn't have to coach her on that at all. Like, that's one of the hardest parts, I think, working with candidates, is like helping them prep for answering questions and stuff. But hang on, Jillian is texting me. But being able to give really good, detailed answers for questions that are asked, especially the hard ones. All right, let me check in, make sure nobody's in the waiting room. Nope, nobody is in the waiting room. So is anybody else have any relations or have been following any particular candidate on any level?
My grandfather, when he was younger, was in the Georgia National Assembly, and then I think he ran for Congress in Massachusetts, or like something political up there, but he's not doing any of that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have, it's kind of cool. I was filling out my ballot. I requested an absentee ballot. We'll see. I think I'm going to hand deliver it rather than mail it, but I was filling it out, and I think I just think being able to vote is awesome, and everybody should always like exercise the right to vote regardless of what your political beliefs are, just doing it and supporting democracy and voting is pretty cool in and of itself. But it's really cool now because when I look at my ballot, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know Jen, she's awesome, and like I get to like vote for my friends now. So I have several people who I'm just really good friends with who are doing some pretty cool things in like North Carolina politics, and it's really fun to like be able to vote for them. All right, let's see here. Still waiting, and I'm looking around here. Speaking of, next Tuesday is National Voter Registration Day. I don't think any of y'all are going to be 18 by November 3rd, right? Okay, I wasn't sure how close some of y'all were. All right, let me text Jillian real quick. Hang on, y'all. We may have to wing class today. And I'm all for it. We can do this. All right. Because I can chat and chat and chat, but I'm sure that's like the last thing y'all want is to hear me talk about politics and stuff like that. But my final remark is that next Tuesday is National Voter Registration Day. And if you know anybody who is 18 or over 18 or is going to be by November 3rd, you can let them know that we are going to be doing a drive-through voter registration event Tuesday at the Elizabethton Library. And we will also have activities for those who are not going to be eligible to vote for this election, such as we're going to have like a kids voting thing, so kids can vote for different candidates that we will have on the forums. And so we'll have like a kids ballot, as well as some information about the history of elections and our democracy and voting rights for people to take home with them. So if anybody is interested in helping out with that or learning more, you're welcome to ask me questions regarding that, but we will be in the works putting all that stuff together. So let me know. And with that being said, I still don't see our guest speaker in the waiting room. So what I'm going to do to make this a little more productive than me chit-chatting is I am going to share some, I'm going to look up some debate speeches, and I am just going to like have y'all just kind of listen at what debate speeches sound like, and let's find some popular ones here. So give me a moment to look on YouTube here to see which one I want to share and discuss. That way y'all get a taste of what debate speeches sound like as you prepare. All right, let's see how long this one is. All right, here is, I'm going to show you all a 2-minute, let me get back to my Zoom here, a little over 2-minute clip of the very crowded Democratic field candidates prior to the primaries debating racism, systemic racism.
Right. I want to go back to the original question, though. How do you explain the increase in Black arrests in South Bend under your leadership for marijuana possession?
And again, the overall rate was lower.
No, there was an increase. The year before you were in office, it was lower. Once you became in office in 2012, that number went up. In 2018, the last year that we have a record for, that number was still up.
Yep. We adopted a strategy that said that drug enforcement would be targeted in cases where there was a connection to the most violent group or gang connected to a murder.
Senator Warren, is that a substantial answer from Mayor Buttigieg?
No. You have to own up to the facts. And it's important to own up to the facts about how race has totally permeated our criminal justice system. You know, for the exact same crime, study after study now shows that African Americans are more likely than whites to be detained, to be arrested, to be taken to trial, to be wrongfully convicted, and to receive harsher sentences.
With respect, you can't regulate away racism with a whole patchwork of laws that are race specific. What we have to do is heed the writings of Martin Luther King, whose birthday we just celebrated. He said that capitalism forgets that life is social. And what he was championing was a guaranteed minimum income for all Americans of $1,000 a month.
I am the person on this stage who will say openly, I'm for reparations. Something wrong happened. I am for reparations to African Americans in this country, and anyone who thinks that racism is a thing of the past and not an ongoing problem is not dealing with reality. One of the leaders of Joe Biden's South Carolina campaign made racist remarks about someone associated with our campaign.
I have more support in South Carolina in the Black Caucus and the Black community than anybody else. Double what you have or anybody else.
But wait a second. Bernie.
Well, that is quite right.
Let's not argue about polls. This isn't about Bernie. This isn't about polls.
I'm not talking about polls. I've already spoken to Dick Harpootlian, and he, in fact, is I believe, sorry for what he said. But here's the deal, folks. Look, we got to stop taking the Black community for granted. That's the starting place.
Year after year after year, election after election after election, Democrats go to people in the Black community and say, boy, we really care about these issues. Racism is terrible. We all want to do something. And then somehow the problem just seems to keep getting worse.
All right. So the reason I kind of shared that one was because I wanted y'all to recognize the dynamics and how they changed from where somebody was asking, oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm bored in the house and I'm in the house bored.
Hang on. So a YouTube ad came on. I'm like trying to figure out what in the world that is. So give me just a second. I love when those things happen. Okay. Anyways, I wanted to, I don't even know where it all went anymore. I think I just X'd out of the whole thing. Okay, cool. Anyways, the reason I shared that particular one with you is because I wanted you to see how the dynamic shifted when Pete Buttigieg was being asked a very pointed question, accusing him, like, why did racism get worse under your leadership? And then to see how he pivoted and did not specifically address the question in and of itself, but then talked about all the different policies that he passed and so on and so forth. But then as other candidates answered the same question, they were far more directed with their responses because they weren't the ones being accused of anything, right? So they were like, oh no, but it was your fault because this and this and this, right? So just looking at the different dynamics between like how candidates respond to questions based on if it's pointed at them or pointed at their opponent. And our guest speaker is supposed to be hopping on. Jillian did contact him. I'm not seeing him in the waiting room yet. So, but did anybody else notice anything during just kind of that 2-minute debate that they want to like just kind of highlight? What about Warren's response? Something that she did was she took it away from Buttigieg's district and she made it more national, right? Because, you know, Elizabeth Warren isn't on just she isn't a local governor. She isn't a governor. She isn't a mayor of a town, right? Buttigieg is a mayor. So what he sees is more on the local realm. So she took it and expanded it nationwide. So I just kind of wanted to highlight that. All right. So it looks like he is here. I'm admitting him now. All right, everybody.
Okay, I figured it out. I had to copy and paste the thing into the URL. So my apologies for that. I'm still getting used to this Zoom thing. So my apologies.
Yeah. No, you're fine. Welcome. We're happy to have you. So I will go ahead and let you introduce yourself and jump right on. We're all ready for you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah. Am I speaking to the class, or do I see is the video? I can't see the class. That's okay though.
Everybody, we are all here and we're all listening. We have.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me. My apologies. Okay, I see the class now. I had to go to gallery view. There we go. Okay. Well, my apologies for being tardy. I'd written down the wrong Wednesday. But I'm glad to be here with you guys. My name is Joey. I am a PhD candidate at East Tennessee State University. I've been studying psychology. I'm close to being done. Hopefully in the next couple months I'll be finished. So that will be exciting. In addition to being a PhD candidate, I have kind of a messy life. I'm also a campus minister for a Presbyterian campus ministry, so kind of like a chaplain at University of Delaware. So I've actually moved to Delaware. I used to live in Elizabethton, Tennessee, which is, I believe, where you guys are, right? Elizabethton? Yep. Okay. So I used to live there. I had a Carter County. I still have a Carter County license plate, so I still have that. But I now live in Delaware, and I'm enjoying it. So I apologize for being late. I'm gonna have to condense a little bit of what I was going to talk about because I'm late. But hopefully, what I talk about today will still be, I guess, relevant to you guys, to your lives, and all that stuff. So I wish I could go around and do introductions. Maybe just briefly. Very briefly, could you guys just like maybe say your name and just say your name. I see your names, but just so I can hear your voice, say your name and say like, I don't know, what's your favorite hobby or something like that, very briefly. So can we do that really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Dolly, and I'm just going to stick with the hobby that I enjoy, which is running.
Awesome.
My name is Emma Carpenter. I enjoy sketching.
Awesome.
My name is Grace Cruz. My name is Grace Cruz, and I like to sing and dance.
Cool.
My name is McKenna Moore, and I like to write.
My name is Abram Freeman, and I like to play video games.
My name is Chloe Polhemus, and I'm a dancer.
My name is Kendall Improver, and I love to cheer.
Is that everyone, or we missed?
That is everyone.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for that. It's just helpful for me when I'm speaking, even if it's for a short amount of time. It's helpful for me to put a name to your face, to your voice, and all that stuff. And being over Zoom and everything, it's interesting, So I was going to talk about racism in America today, the history of racism in America, and I was going to give you more of a historical kind of view if we had the full 30 minutes. But instead of doing that, I'll just briefly say a couple things about that. But I really believe when I'm in discussions of race, I really believe that, personal stories, personal testimony, even to some of the issues that we're seeing today, I think really help people, see, I guess, the issue. I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example. So my wife, she's from Maryland, a very rural part of Maryland, okay, where it's like 99% Caucasian. It's very homogeneously, meaning it's a predominantly Caucasian area, you know. And she grew up not really thinking very much about race, you know. She's also Caucasian and stuff. If you haven't been able to tell, I'm Asian American. I'm a mix a little bit. I also have some Latin American Hispanic roots as well. But generally speaking, I identify myself as Asian American, mainly because I feel like that's kind of how I've been identified and treated in a way as Asian American in this country. So I grew up really thinking about race. It's really salient for me, you know, not being, you know, being Asian American, having it be something that, you know, something that sticks out to people, you know. I'll give you another example. I was actually going to a coronavirus testing site. No worries. I don't have any symptoms or anything, but for part of my job, I have to get tested pretty often. And just as an example, the person doing the, I guess, writing down our information, like looked at my wife and just, you know, assumed, oh yeah, she's white, whatever. And then the person looked at me and was like, and I think they were well meaning, but they're like, so what are you, like, what's your race, you know? And I understand, you know, I understand, like, you know, sure, he's maybe around more individuals that are Caucasian, but, you know, to be asked, like, what are you, you know, it's interesting, you know, it's difficult. Very briefly, you've probably learned, you know, a lot of, I don't know how much you've learned. I'm just going to assume that you've learned some of, you know, the history of racism in this country, especially the, you know, the horrible, you know, going back to the 18th century, the horrible, and 17th century, the slave trade and the history of, you know, slavery in this country. And I think sometimes it's often lost on us that, you know, people might think, oh, well, racism happened, you know, it happened, you know, slavery happened, but now we don't have slavery, right? So it's all good, right? You know, there's no such thing as racism anymore, right? That's what, I'm not saying that's what I believe, that's what, you know, some responses you hear. And unfortunately, I think that misses out on something, and misses out on the fact that, well, wait a minute, only 50, 60 years ago, was there still legal segregation, right, in this country for like education. You know, the Brown versus Board of Education ruling didn't happen until 1964. It's not a long time ago, right? My parents lived through that. I don't know about maybe your parents too, but my parents were alive back then and they remember that. You know, just in terms of segregation, I mean, has anyone heard of the term redlining before? Redlining, anyone? No one? That's okay. Well, anyway, I won't go into exactly like the whole nuances with it, but pretty much just because legal segregation ended, so, you know, legal segregation ended, it doesn't mean that there still wasn't segregation. You know, look around, you know, if you go to different cities, I mean, even in Johnson City, where you live very close to Johnson City, even in Johnson City, there's still, it seems like there's still like segregation in a sense, in terms of like communities and in terms of like where people live. I mean, just to ask yourself, maybe you should ask yourself, like, why is that? Why is it that, you know, there are certain communities where it seems like predominantly it's Caucasian? And I know Johnson City is a predominantly Caucasian city, sure. But there is some, you know, there are people that aren't Caucasian, but it seems like the people that aren't Caucasian are all congregated in like a couple neighborhoods. So why is that, you know? Those are, I think, valid questions to like think about. They're valid questions to think about. They're valid questions to ponder, maybe talk to people, talk to your friends about. In terms of personal testimony and personal experience, you know, I grew up in a very diverse area. You know, I grew up in Maryland, Silver Spring, Maryland, which is right outside Washington, D.C. And, you know, just because it's a diverse area, you know, doesn't mean that there isn't, you know, that there isn't racism, right? Or that there isn't any sort of prejudice or discrimination, you know. Sometimes, and this has been something that has annoyed me, sometimes people in the North, right, seem to say, oh, well, racism, that's just a thing in the South. And having lived in the South and the North, I can tell you that that's not true, right? There is racism in the North too. I've experienced it firsthand in different places. You know, there are still people that I've met. I've met people, not just in the South. I did meet people in Elizabethton that said this, but also in the North. Like I've met people that think that interracial marriages are an abomination, right? Or a sin. You know, my wife worked she's a physical therapist assistant, and she used to work in Johnson City in one of the skilled nursing facilities. And, you know, she had a lot of really great patients, a lot of really nice patients. But one time she showed a picture of me to one of her patients, and the response was, wait, that's not your husband. That can't be your husband. And my wife was like, why not? And the person was like, well, he's not white, you know, and you're white. And how can you be married to, you know, someone who's not white? Like that's weird. That's an abomination. So I'm telling you guys, this is 2020. It doesn't mean that we live in a post-racial society, right? I mean, that's certainly an overt act. Do you guys know what I mean by overt? Overt means like it's explicit. So like someone explicitly said like, well, you shouldn't be married to a non-white person, right? Because you're white. That's what I mean by overt. So there's overt acts of racism, but there's also covert acts, right? And what I mean by covert, okay, is that it happens in the mind. So let me ask you this, and from a psychological standpoint, think about this. Like, if that's happening and people are overt about it, right? There are people that are overt about racism. You know, that still exists, okay? Explicit overt acts. How much more do you think it happens in, you know, people's minds? Maybe they're just, you know, they don't want to say it, but think about it like that, you know? I mean, even if it's not being explicit, like even if it's not being like explicitly talked about, you know, it could still be internalized, meaning it's still in people's minds, and that can affect, right, people. Even if they're not explicitly saying it, it affects the way people view people, right? So I guess, you know, one of the main things I wanted to stress to you guys today, and, you know, I know I don't have so much time, again, I apologize for running late, was, you know, it's important not to downplay the seriousness of racism. You know, it certainly exists, and, you know, maybe you haven't experienced it yourself firsthand, but it certainly is something that still occurs, you know, and I've seen it firsthand, here and there. I mean, I have a really good friend who, you know, he's African American. He lives in Tennessee. He's one of my best friends. He lives in Chattanooga, actually, so not too far. It's like 3 hours south of where you guys are from, or where you guys live. And I mean, he has, just some of the stories that he has told me about, you know, being Black, you know, just, he works with a lot of youth, you know, he actually works for a ministry that works with youth students, and just the conversations that he has with a lot of the youth, like, you know, because they're Black, it's like they're always internalizing or thinking, they're always thinking about the fact that, well, I'm Black and I may be viewed differently. Like if I go outside, you know, if I go outside, or if I go out into a community, you know, I might be viewed differently, you know? And I mean, I don't want to speak for you, you know, I don't want to speak for anyone. I'm not trying to speak for anyone here, but in the words of my wife is Caucasian. And in her words, she would say, you know, she doesn't really ever have to think about that, right? She doesn't have to think about, you know, what it's like to, like, you know, she could just go outside and not worry about, you know, are people looking at me because I'm white, you know? Probably not, you know. Probably not. So, but, you know, if you're African American, if you're Black, like, people do think about that, you know. And I mean, as Asian, I don't always think about it. I have thought about it, especially when I lived in, you know, Tennessee. There were times, not always, again, I'm not saying always, but there were a couple times where, you know, I felt like, you know, maybe people were staring at me and I didn't know why. I mean, maybe, I mean, I'm not saying for sure, but it at least made me feel uncomfortable, right? It made me feel uncomfortable. And you know, it made me just kind of think, like, why are people looking at me? They're not looking at, like, my wife. Why aren't they staring at my wife? You know, but they're staring at me. So I guess to wrap it up, because I only have it's 12 o'clock. Can I go 1 minute over? Is that okay? Can I wrap it up? Okay. To wrap it up, guys, the point that I'm trying to make is, you know, be kind and listen to people. You know, a lot of these issues, I think, can be helped. I don't want to say completely resolved, but they can be helped if you listen to people and listen to their perspectives. If I have a friend, if I have a friend who's African American who's telling me that that he's been subject of racism before, or that he's been experienced or exposed to discrimination or racism, what's your response? Like, what's your mental response? Is your response, well, I'm gonna think about, maybe he's not being, genuine, or maybe he's not, telling the truth. Is that my response? Or is my response going to be like, wow, that's really horrible. Let's actually listen to this guy who's had this negative experience, because quite frankly, there are many instances. I mean, look at the history of the United States. I didn't get to cover it that much, but if you look at the history, a lot of times, almost all the time, racial minorities have been ignored. They've been ignored for what they've been trying to say. So I really encourage you to listen to people, listen to their thoughts, listen to their experiences. Don't rush to judgment. Don't rush to judgment right away. And that's kind of my message. I see that we're at 12:02, so I apologize for keeping you 2 minutes over, but I do appreciate you for letting me come, and if there's ever another opportunity, I'd love to do it again. I apologize for being a little late there.
No, thank you so much. That was excellent, and a great way to explain that in brevity. No, I appreciate you still being willing to come on and share what you had in that small amount. So thank you so much. And I love the point you make that just listen to people, because just because you haven't experienced something like racism or sexism or any other kind of trauma doesn't mean that it is not out there, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And the most one of the biggest ways to be an ally for somebody is to believe them and hear their voices. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to type up your email address, if you're willing to, if you're okay with it, the homework assignment for this week for our students is to do an argument for or against the following statements. 1, everyone in America has the same opportunity. And 2, Black people need to forget about the past and focus on the present. Those are the debate format. Those are the 2 topics to do a debate format with. And they may, along the way, y'all have any questions, or if you want to ask, he put his email address inside of the chat box. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. I'd love to interact, or I would, I'll totally answer if you have any questions. So thank you guys.
Okay. Emma, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to thank you for coming today.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, again, I apologize for being late. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to let in our other people, but Joey, you are free to go. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all. Have a great day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye. All right, everyone. I'm going to let in your fellow SADD Club peeps, and I'm going to get out of y'all's hair too and let y'all do what you need to do. Just let me know if you do have any questions. Does anybody have any questions before I jump off and let you do your thing? Okay. Anything comes up along the way, let me know. I am going to pass the host baton over to Emma here so that I can jump off and leave y'all to your own devices. All right, everyone. Bye.
Is it working, guys? Go sit down. Go sit down. You done anything? Cool.
Okay, I think we're gonna wait for a minute to see if anyone else will come on in the next few minutes, and then we'll start today, okay?
Yeah, like I said, last night it looked, or downstairs it looks fine.
Does anyone know if anyone else is coming today? Or if they invited anyone to come?
Heart is popping on now, yeah. Or oh, sorry, Trinity and Mira here. I think they're coming too. I think you can probably go ahead and get started, girls.
Oh, okay. Okay, guys, so welcome to SADD meeting. I'm glad that everyone's here. We're going to go around and say our name and our grade, just like we did last week. So, Grace, do you want to go first?
Hi, I'm Grace, and I'm in 11th grade.
Okay. McKenna?
Hi, I'm McKenna, and I am in 9th grade.
Emma?
My name is Emma Carpenter. I'm a sophomore.
Damon, do you want to go? Can you turn on your microphone? You're muted right now.
I'm David and I'm in 4th grade.
Okay. Chloe?
I'm Chloe and I'm a sophomore.
Okay. Aiden, do you want to go?
I'm Aiden and I'm in 7th grade.
And Kendallin, are you there? There you are.
I'm Kendallin and I'm in 8th grade.
Okay, and I'm Claire and I'm in 7th. And I'm Chloe and I'm in 9th grade. Okay, I think that I got everyone. Did I miss anyone? Okay, I don't think so. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we just went over who is here. And
hey girls.
Yes.
Hey girls. Cart is here too. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Cart's here.
Okay, go ahead, Carter.
I'm Carter and I'm in 4th grade. Oh, 5th grade. 5th grade. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Carter. Okay, so McKenna's going to do an icebreaker with us in just a minute. Then Emma's going to go over, she's going to talk about potential projects that we can do, what we want to focus on, and then SADD national updates. And then McKenna's also going to report on things that we've done from the last meeting. And Kaylee, I don't think that Kaylee's here today. I don't see her. But if she logs on, then she's going to go over our junior coalition. And then we're going to finish up at 1. So McKenna, do you want to go ahead and do our icebreaker?
Sure. So everyone, if you are able, go grab a piece of paper and one item from your pantry.
Okay, just making sure everybody heard Kenna in terms of movement. Go grab something from your pantry.
Okay, is everyone good? Do we wait a little bit more? Okay, so has everyone gotten a piece of paper and one item from your pantry? Cool. Okay, so now spend the next 5 minutes like redesigning the label of your food item. So like draw a new label for it, or so one more time, if you didn't hear me, redesign your item that you got from your label. So find something in your pantry and redesign the label of it. We're gonna wait about 2 more minutes. All right, give me a thumbs up when you're finishing up.
I'm back. All right, is everyone good? All right, so does anyone want to show their label that they drew? Chloe and Claire, you guys were laughing, so I want to see this.
Okay, here's ours. This is
We had black beans.
We have black beans. This is our new one, and then this is the original one. That's what we got.
10 out of 10. Grace, do you want to show?
Sure. So I got some gummy bears for my birthday. They're Albanese World's Best. So like I drew a globe and it says like Albanese and World's Best. So like here's the original one.
Wonderful. Chloe, do you have anything? All right, what about you, Kendallin? Damon, did you draw a label?
It's really the worst thing
No, I didn't.
ever. I tried,
That's cool. Emma,
I'm not an artist.
let's see your masterpiece.
It's bad. It's okay though. I'm being optimistic. So I made this. I don't even know if you can see it. It says hazelnut spread, and then it's just a bunch of branches with hazelnut. This was the original one. It's
Fancy. Cool. All right, what about you, Fire Tablet?
Yeah. I just basically said macaroni and cheese and then a block of cheese. And then that was the original.
Anybody else want to share? Cool. All right, so I guess we can move on to the next thing now.
Okay, so today we are going to talk a little bit more about some events we're going to do as well as some trainings. Last week, you guys gave me some very good topics that you guys saw problems with in your communities. So we're going to work on some trainings with those. So let me share my screen. So these are some of the past things we've done. Thank you to everyone who made it for the 9/11 Day of Service at Red Legacy. I feel we got a lot done and it was really cool to do that with you guys. So in 2 weeks, we'll be doing advocacy training from Truth. This will be done by a Truth Youth Ambassador from Atlanta. And this is up for anyone who wants to go. And then in October, we will be having a human trafficking kind of series where we'll have professional speakers come and speak to us. It'll be for 4 weeks. So for human trafficking part 1, it'll be October 14th from 12 to 2 p.m. At CCDP, it's in-person training, and then human trafficking part 2. Wednesday, October 21st, 12 to 1, we will be having another Zoom call for that one, and that'll be human trafficking part 3. And then finally, we'll wrap it up on October 28th from 12 to 1 for Zoom human trafficking part 4. We will also have a mask decorating station for kids on October 16th from 5 to 9 p.m. This is open for anyone to come. It'll be downtown evenings on Elk. So this will be a really good opportunity to let kids just decorate their own masks. That way it'll be their design and they'll most likely want to wear it more often. So that's what we're thinking about doing for the next month. But I also want to ask, what are some things that you guys want to do? Like, have you thought at all about what kind of events you want to do, whether that be like handing out care packages or doing something else that just helps your community?
Always fun to do cigarette pickups.
Yes, cigarette pickups they're pretty cool. A little gross, but they're cool. We also do
So kind of like that we could do. Go ahead.
We also take the correct precautions, so you will be given gloves, a bag, and I think we were talking about getting like the sticks, though I don't know if we have them yet. So we will have those. You probably hear the trash truck. I'm just gonna mute myself for a minute.
Claire and Chloe, were you saying something?
Oh yeah, I was just saying that we could do like a litter pickup at like a park or something like that. Kind of goes along with the cigarette pickup too.
And that might even help us see like what progress we're making, because I think we have hung up some signage at some parks, so we could see the difference and actually use that for data to see if what we did helped at all.
Grace, did you have something to say?
One thing I know that's really working in our society today is preservation of the arts, because, you know, with this shutdown, there are many studios, mine included, struggling to be able to pay rent, stay open. So we could do like an arts awareness thing. Like I know my studio is planning to like start a YouTube page. So, I mean, if we could go online and at least like share videos on like the SADD social media or something, just to raise like arts awareness.
That's also, yeah, that's a really good thing, because that's happening with my community theater as well. With COVID, they didn't have a lot of money to begin with, and so now that everything's shut down, it's the same thing.
I do think this is a great idea, because I did hear about Skillville going out of business, and they're even having a going out of business sale now. I was very sad to hear about it, so I think it would be a great idea if we did raise awareness about this issue, especially for like new artists. It might be extremely hard to get off the ground right now, so that's a great idea. Does anyone else have any event ideas that they can think of?
Hey, Em, would you be able to share the calendar so everybody can kind of look and see what we've got and how that looks to everybody?
Okay, I started talking about, do you want me to share it to them like through their emails, or just share the screen again?
We might actually do both. If you could kind of just share it now and have everybody look at it, and then we'll send it out to everybody after too, so they'll all have it in writing. But just like some of the things, I know there are some weeks so we don't really have anything scheduled, so we could kind of plug in like things like the litter pickup or those things then and get those on the calendar too.
I think I forgot to mention this. We are also doing a Standing Up for Change. It's an African American women in civil rights movement. We'll be doing this Thursday, October 8th at 1:30, and then it'll continue talking about it on the beginnings of women's suffrage. That'll be Thursday, October 15th at 1:30. Taking a Stand, Part 2, Women's Suffrage and Protest at the White House. That'll be Thursday, October 22nd at 1:30 p.m. But yeah, these are some great ideas. I think we'll go kind of near the top so that you guys can look through some of the project ideas that we are having. Does anyone think they'll be interested in going to the advocacy training from Truth? Truth is a coalition group that a youth coalition group that teaches more about the dangers of smoking, vaping, just all about nicotine. And we would have usually went to a summit near Nashville, but it did not happen this year because of COVID. And then again, with the human trafficking, this will be done by someone who's more professional. they've been doing this for a while, and they'll be teaching more about it. They have a pretty cool slideshow, so that's what we'll be doing throughout October. But these are really cool. We also, Bullying Prevention Month. Is that this month, Jillian, or is that next month?
That is October. But for either of those, like Red Ribbon Week or Bullying Prevention, those are times that we could plug in activities that we want to do. So, you know, if we wanted to do the cigarette pickup for Red Ribbon Week and raise awareness of the dangers of tobacco, then we could do that. Or whatever, you know, for bullying prevention, it's plugging in ideas they'll have.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you guys have any ideas for Bullying Prevention Month, that'd be great. We could hold art competitions to raise awareness about art, or we could just state some facts every week or do some trivia. There's all kinds of things we could do for Bullying Prevention Month. If you want to come up with some ideas, that would be great. And we could probably put them in somewhere. And we can also look at other people's ideas as well. Is that what this is right here?
Yeah, that's other idea.
Okay. So
I love the idea of an art contest for that.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of raising awareness about like what we were talking about with art studios and stuff. That could be something really cool.
But yeah, we could even like hold different kinds of competitions. We could hold a writing competition for it, an art competition. Just there's all kinds of things we could do. Maybe we could even do like a skit competition. That might be interesting. But there's all kinds of things we could do for Bullying Prevention Month. I don't know if any of you have ever been bullied. I know it's not uncommon for public school kids, though most of us are homeschooled. I'm sure you still have been bullied before. So this would be interesting. And it's kind of more personal than some of the other topics you might have mentioned. And then as we go through, let's see. So in November, on Wednesday, November 4th, 12 to 1, we'll be doing a training mental health and suicide prevention. We'll talk more about this later on. It's still a while away, and we can decide some more things we'll do for that. And we'll have a in-person service project on Veterans Day on Wednesday, November 11th from 12 to 1 p.m. So then we'll do some training for vaping, something for Great American Smokeout. We haven't really thought about this much, as you can tell by the question marks, but we'll, again, decide some more of the details as we move on. But again, I'd love to hear some more of your ideas so that we do get some more projects in there. I think it's okay for me to stop sharing my screen now. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff we could do for our coalition. What's after me, Claire or Chloe?
McKenna's going to, McKenna's going to talk about things from the last meeting. Says that she's going to report on action items from last meeting.
Okay. And Kenny, you want to go ahead and do that then?
Yeah, sure. So last meeting, we kind of just took time to get to know each other. That was really fun. We did an icebreaker again. We went over brainstorming ideas of service projects and fun things we could do. I'm still waiting to hear back from the girl about sticker shock, about going in and putting stickers on alcohol products. So waiting to hear back from that to see. But last week was just kind of a fun little thing to get to know and brainstorm some ideas. So not much to.
Okay, McKenna, are you finished up there? Okay, so Kaylee isn't here today, but she was supposed to talk about Junior Coalition. So Emma, do you know what we're supposed to do for that, or are we just gonna skip over that today?
I think we may have to skip over it. I don't know much about what's happening in the Junior Coalition.
I don't either.
Wait, is there anyone here from the Junior Coalition? Do you want to speak about it? I won't put you on the spot if you're not ready, of course, but if you want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing, that'd be great. Okay, I think we should probably
No one wants to. It's okay though. So then it just says that you're going to. Okay, then it just says that you're going to ask if there's anything else that we need to talk about. But I think we've just about covered everything.
Yeah, I think so. But if there is anything else you guys want to ask about what we're doing, or if there's anything that piques your interest, I'd love to know so that we know how many people will be going to these events. But that'd be great. Or if you have any more event ideas, that would also be great. But yeah, thanks.
The drawing sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. That'll be fun. So does anyone have any questions? No? Okay.
Okay, Jillian, was there anything you wanted to add or say today? All right.
Thank you guys for coming.
Yes, thank you guys so much for coming. We will be having trainings in October and on the 30th for Truth. So remember those and put the dates down. Thank you.
I promise you guys it's not always this awkward. Zoom is just weird.
So I think that we're finished up, right? Okay.
I think so.
I guess everyone's good to go.
Mm-hmm.
See you guys later.
Thanks for coming.